Hi all, great to see you guys over here. Brief introduction to start with. My name is Jatin Gupta, batch of 2002 2004, took specialization in marketing and finance. Right now, I am the co-founder of a company called as My Piece. So My Piece is basically my PS, that is for my marketing piece. Okay, so basically, you got a hint of it. We guys are basically into strategy and operation consulting, and we work very closely with a lot of companies which are in the space of FMCG, tech, education, and very recently into medical devices as well. And the nature of work is more in terms of helping them out in terms of resolving their day-to-day issues, day-to-day business concerns, helping them devise their strategies. Of late, I've been working a lot with a lot of startups as well. So the work nature is in terms of anything right from helping them getting fundings for their companies to helping them out with their day-to-day operations. That was a brief about me. Um, my journey to the corporate world actually started with BIMTECH, very frankly. And it was in 2002, when I took interest in BIMTECH as a prospect. So what happened was my father is a BITS again. He passed his engineering from BITS Pilani, and he was so that was the time when I was applying for my CAT exams and MAT exams, the way you guys are doing, right? And that is when he asked me to apply for BIMTECH as well. And BIMTECH at that point of time, unlike now, had used to have autonomous exams. So I went ahead and I gave the exam over there as well. Unfortunately, I had a medical condition due to which I could not go out of Delhi, and BIMTECH became a natural choice for me because of the reviews which I had heard about BIMTECH and the kind of faculty we had in place over there. So, 2002 May, that is when I joined BIMTECH. And it was a very interesting journey. As you know, everyone has their first day. We went to the college and had our orientation. It was a nervous day for all of us. But then gradually we started meeting our friends, greeting our friends, and gradually it developed into a cohesive unit. So if you really ask me, how were my days in BIMTECH? What kind of activities we guys did? What kind of things we did? It was a mixed bag for us, very frankly. 2002 were different days. BIMTECH at that point of time was still busy in making its brand presence felt, and we guys were working very aggressively towards, which in many ways was a blessing in disguise for me, because what that did for us of the alumni, or for that matter corporate activities, was essentially run by the student body, and the support was essentially provided by the staff and the director sir as well. But then the aim or the game plan which the college had was very simple, that okay, we have to involve the students as well in the entire process because it's very important for their growth and learning as well. So that somehow really worked very well for me. Besides that, we had really strong faculty. We had really strong marketing faculty. We had real great people in terms of Ramani sir in finance. He's still there out there in the college, a great person. So yes, it was a fair amount of information which was coming into us. A lot of information being digested by us, and at the same time, we interacting with corporates, organizing various events, seminars. We didn't realize, interestingly, was how things were really coming together and helping us in establishing ourselves as a corporate. So what really happens is, what you learn in your classes is essentially the theory, right? But then when you start doing things like corporate events, the alumni, the kind of conversation you have with them is very different from what you would be having till now, maybe in your graduation or as an engineer. So the nature of conversation is very management centric, and the or rather the inclination towards the conversations are essentially in terms of understanding, how can this person be a good fit for my organization. So you'll always find people, or you would always find alumni looking at you as prospects at times, and that is very good in a way, and that's something which benefited a lot of my colleagues, including me, because my first job was with Satnam Overseas Limited, which is acquired by McCormick Group. And that again was because we had one of our alumni over there, and of course I went through the rigorous interview process, but then since I had an interaction with him, that really worked in my favor. So uh, so again, the days were essentially divided between the classes, projects, discussions, and corporate interaction. Um, what really worked for me in those 2 years was the kind of people I interacted with, not only my teachers or my professors, but also my friends who used to work very closely with me, and the way we used to work on various projects. So there always used to be another opinion coming in, and that used to really be very helpful. And the facilities provided moving this thing forward and developing us into a thorough professional. Summer internship was again something which BIMTECH really helped us a lot in. There were a lot of grooming sessions which we used to have. We had an in-house communication professor, and she was always willing to help us out, and come out as the true professionals. Um, that was 2002, 2004, but then the world has changed now. And I can very conveniently say that it has evolved and it has come a long way. Perfect. Great. If in case you ask me, what do I really remember about my days in BIMTech? Um, I actually, whenever I talk to someone about my MBA days, I usually tell them that my journey in my MBA college uh, was like a road. It was like a well laid out road, which had its country miles marked out very well. So it was all up to you to figure out, which country mile do you want to pick up and stop. So, the very first day when you get into the college, you would get a feeling of what essentially, is being planned for you the very first semester. We used to have a semester system, that is 2002, 2004. Even then, at that point of time, the curriculum was very well laid out. We knew, our teachers knew what was expected out of them, and they always used to keep an eye for students who would actually fit to their requirements. Okay, so what happened for me was, when I joined, I was hardcore inclined towards marketing. But as I progressed and reached third semester, we used to have a dual specialization, and I decided that, okay, while marketing is my first love, I would also like to take finance because I had a BCom honors background. So it was very logical for me. And at the same time, what I understood was that would actually contribute a lot in terms of the specialization, or the kind of skill set I had developed till then, which eventually came out very handy to me in the later years of my career, which we'll talk about a little later. But then, yes, once you reach over there, everything is well laid out. You will get ample opportunities. You will get a lot of chances to interact with your alumni, with the corporate world. You'll get a lot of chances to organize events, seminars, and be privy to things firsthand in terms of learning. And that is the time when it would be very important for you as well to make the best of the situation and groom yourself. Um, It's very important, when you go over there in your college, you have an understanding of what you really want to get into. You really can't go over there saying, okay, I'll go and see. Chalta hai, dekhenge jaake. That never works in MBA. You need to have a clarity that whether you want to take a marketing, you want to take a finance, you want to take an HR, you want to take an operations, or what it is. And it has become all the more competitive in the world now. So it becomes all the more essential that you have a clarity in terms of what your core capabilities are, what you want to do in your life, and maybe develop on that over those 2 years. So you really can't come and construct an entire building over there. What you essentially do in MBA is a fair amount of lipstick work, honing your capabilities from whatever you learned till now to maybe how would you be applying it practically in a business world. So that is my way of thinking about how MBA really worked for me. Um, Brilliant teachers. We had likes of Mohit Chabra, Anita Tripathi Lal, and I already said Professor Ramni. They were amazing people. They helped us a lot in terms of whatever we learned. After my MBA, when I was done with my fourth semester, that was when the companies, or rather, in fact, before the fourth semester ended, in the midway of fourth semester, we had companies coming in for recruitments. We had a fair amount of companies who were bringing in sales profiles, who were bringing in operations profile, marketing profiles. But then, yes, the interest area which I had was specifically towards the strategic marketing or something which was more aligned in terms of the market research side of the work. Um, we had the likes of LG coming in, we had the like of PwC coming in at that one time, we had PepsiCo coming in, you name it. There were very good names and brands which came in and recruited people. But then yes, for me, my eyes were focused on something which was related to market research, and it came in form of Satnam Overseas Limited, again acquired by McCormick Group. And it was an interesting process. I had 3 rounds of interview, and I still remember the last round was in the boardroom of Satnam Overseas Limited, where I met the CMD of Satnam Overseas Limited. He had a brief interaction with me, and that is where he declared the result, and it was great. It was a nice feeling. So that was how I joined Satnam Overseas Limited, and it was a great amount of learning over there. I was there around for 7 to 8 months in terms of my stint. But then, yes, there was a fair amount of learning in terms of how market research really works, how branding really works, how sales really works, and how to take care of dealing with the customers. What is the purchase side of the business, what is the finance side of business. The interesting thing of being recruited as a management trainee is that you're essentially exposed to almost every kind of things. So yes, over there around roughly 7 8 months after that, I got an opportunity to work for Apollo Tires. Automotive industry has always been close to my heart, and it was a very tough decision for me to move from Satnam Overseas to Apollo Tires. But then after a point of time when was more of a logical decision that I wanted to go for Apollo Tires. So I joined Apollo Tires as a management trainee in product management, and I worked over there for roughly around 2 years and left them as an assistant product manager. Great learning again. So I was handling the international market for them, specifically the Middle East and Europe market. And the most interesting thing which I did over there was develop the entire Europe market for them. And it was basically something like a zero revenue market to 100 million rupees market on a yearly basis, which was generated just by me. So for a person who was just 1 year out of the college, and he doing something like this in over a time period of 2 years was commendable. And I would say a lot of that confidence essentially came in from my interactions which I had with the people out there in BIMTECH, and the coffee conversations where friends used to talk to each other, and really used to talk about the capabilities of each other. And that's something which I harnessed every time I went for a difficult meeting, or I went for a difficult client. So yes, that was something which really worked well for me. After 2 years, I got an opportunity to work for Deloitte in their marketing department. Again, it was in the space of automotive industry. So what really lured me in Deloitte was the fact that I was getting to work not on one client, but then I was going to work on multiple clients. So the way Deloitte really works is in terms of their marketing is they do not have individual marketing team for each of their clients. So they basically divide themselves into industries, and then accordingly they have got a small team which actually works on various marketing deliverables. So worked over there around for 4.5 years. A very interesting journey over there as well. Did a lot of event management. Did a lot of corporate marketing, B2B marketing. Really got the understanding of the concept of B2B marketing. We were really way ahead in terms of the learning curve as compared to the entire industry, because in 2006 we had already been starting to get exposure in CRM, business intelligence, we were really working day in day out in terms of how the data could be crunched to attract the clients much better. So that happened around for 4 years. I was working with a partner on one of the engagements where he saw my work, and he was really impressed with the kind of things I did over there. So what he eventually did was he asked me to join the management consulting division of Deloitte. Happily accepted it, and after that I moved to the management consulting domain of Deloitte, and worked over there for roughly around 4.5 years. Interesting experience again. Did a lot of marketing, business development, sales, consulting related work over there. And in 2000, in 2014, yes, 2014, I got an opportunity with Invesco. So Invesco is a asset management company, and I joined them as the head of marketing operations in September. So that was a very interesting journey again, because what I was supposed to do was I was supposed to establish their marketing operations across the globe to India. So the way it was basically working was we were trying to create a shared services setup, or other, I would say a offshoring setup for Invesco. So I worked in establishing their Asia Pacific operations, specifically Hong Kong, Japan, Australia, Singapore. These were the countries which I was working very closely with. Besides that, I worked a lot with Europe and the US as well. So I was there till 2019, and in 2019, I took a conscious decision of not being associated with B2B companies anymore, and that is when I got a chance of working with GVC Limited, which now is called as Entain. So this company is basically a market leader when it comes to gaming, and I joined them. I'm joined them as head of business operation in 2019 November, and I was there with them for roughly around 2.5 years. And April 2020, I actually took a decision of starting my own business, and that is when I took a plunge of starting my own consulting my piece. Interesting year because of Corona. So the things have been a roller coaster ride since then, and there's a fair amount of learning, very frankly. But then, yes, interesting times, I would say. So, whenever I reflect back to the things which have happened with me in my corporate life, the way I have conducted myself and the way I have risen from organization to organization to where I am. There has always been a very interesting thought process which comes into the picture. And the thought process is, how did BIMTECH really help me in the place where I am right now? And a lot of people listening to me right now would be thinking about what is the ROI of we joining BIMTECH. I'll be very frank with you. The What BIMTECH really did for me was to transform me from a a youth, or a irresponsible youth, to someone who understood how the corporate world really works. It is, it's an interesting place. The corporate world is a very interesting place. It gives you a lot of perspective about a lot of things. It, while teaches you to be focused on your work, at the same time teaches you to be respectful to the organization. And then somewhere down the line, BIMTech gave me a very comfortable cushion, or I would say a springboard for me to move from where I was to the corporate world which I stepped into. And for me, the transition in many ways was comfortable, because by the time I had completed my fourth semester, I knew what the corporate world would essentially look like. Let it be summer internship, or let it be, interactions with alumni or the corporates. They always helped us out to understand, how the world over there is. While they used to love our gregarious nature and the line of questioning which we used to put in front of them, there used to be a lot of times when they used to course correct us in terms of what essentially should we expect. I categorically remember one of the conversations which I had with my alumni, and he told me very frankly that, Jatin, they are not looking for superstars out there. They are basically looking for someone who can do a good job, or rather a very good job, in what is being assigned to him. So yeah, that really stuck on to me in the initial years. And when I went over there, what always stayed with me was my alumni network. Also, the contacts which my institution provided to me in form of the corporates which I dealt with, or the professors or teachers I dealt with. Um, a very important call out to my faculty and director, sir, for that matter. I never felt abandoned after my MBA. They always used to be around in terms of supporting me, or whenever I had any issues or concerns. Let it be, getting a as simple as getting a letter from the from the institute saying that I was a part of the institute and did my masters from there, to me being connected to a particular corporate because the director over there knows him pretty well, or one of the professors knows him pretty well over there. So we have always been a family even after me leaving the organization. And I'm talking about, I left in 2004. So we are talking about roughly 17 years, and we continue to have that kind of a relationship. That in many ways it's commendable, and that is something which I really appreciate. And this is something which you would be welcome to as well, if in case you join BIM, because that is one thing which exists, and that is the nurturing environment which is provided by BIMTech. So when I think many times about the journey which many of our friends had together, always a lot of names chime in. It's more like talking about the good old days of BIMTech and the friends and the families which I made over there. Batchmate Abhilasha Nagpal, who's the senior vice president of Citibank right now, or let it be Anuj Mishra, who's the regional director with Oracle, or let it be my juniors for that matter, Abhinav Iyer, who's the CMO of Muthoot Group right now. These guys have always inspired us in many ways. We have always pushed each other to perform better, and this is something which has stuck on even after 17 years. We in friendly banters and conversations, we guys always end up pulling each other's legs, saying that, okay, you're not successful enough. So what we tend to do then is push ourselves harder, in a very positive way. And BIMTech in many ways has given me a family which I can look beyond those 2 years, and that is something which has been amazing for me. And it's been a really great experience for me. So now we have spoken a lot about how, what, when, where of BIMTech, and how has it been handy or inspirational to me in my corporate life. But then you would be having questions in your mind in terms of, okay, Jatin, you spoke a lot about yourself, but then what would be your takeaways to us, or what would be your suggestion to us if in case we join BIMTech? Very frankly, I would say keep an open mind, and whatever you do, put your 100%, because it is like this. It's like an ocean over there. You would have a lot of opportunities. It would be for you to figure out how you go about it. But then to be very specific, what really worked for me, and what I can share with you guys is, it's very important for you to identify your area of specialization. You just cannot go over there with a blank slate and say that I'll start writing ABC. What is very important for you is you need to know whether you want to take up marketing, whether you want to take finance, you want to take operations, you want to take HR, and then accordingly start working in the right direction. So, what happens is, it is a very filtrative approach. What you do is you go over there, you select your special, rather you start making your mind about a specialization. Okay, until unless you are not able to identify the specialization you want to get into, you would not be able to focus on what kind of networking you have to work on. Networking, an interesting word, and I'll explain it a little more. It is something in which you interact with your alumni, or you interact with the corporate world and make them a kind of an advocate for you. Okay, so it is simple. In simple words, these guys are essentially going to be, the people whom you would be interacting with to understand the corporate world better, or maybe tapping into a link, or maybe taking some tips in terms of how to crack an interview and stuff like that. So yes, you need to have a network. It is very important in the corporate world, and to do that, you need to have a very good understanding of what you want to do. Until unless you do not have an understanding of what you do, you cannot target the people. So, for example, when I decided I would take marketing, I very categorically started focusing on interacting with the alumni or the corporate leaders who were the experts in their field. Try to grab the knowledge. Essentially, it is all about it's essentially like a river which is flowing over there. You just got to put a mug and have a glass of whatever water you want to have, let it be marketing, finance, operations, or HR. So that was very important and something which I learned very early in my career over there. Also, it is very important that you tap into alumni of your college, that is BIMTECH, because of a very simple reason. These are the people who, besides being an alumni or someone who has been very closely associated to the university or the institute, is also someone who is into the corporate world. So they in many ways become your advocates. Okay, another very important thing is identifying your mentors. Okay, and this is something which is very close to my heart. I sincerely believe that all of us should have a mentor, because you can't learn everything yourself. There are times when you have to rely on others, or their intelligence to move forward in your life. Okay, so and that is where the mentors come into the picture. They shorten your practical learning curve to a summary which you can always get over a cup of coffee, or a cup of tea. Okay, and then for me it was very important and helpful because I had some interesting mentors in very early in my career, and a couple of them were from BIMTech. So they always guided me, or they always told me how to handle situations, because when you are in the corporate world, it's a very different world altogether, and you would be into a lot of sticky situations, and those would be the times when the mentors would come into the picture to teach you how to play a lofted shot. Okay, and that is exactly what happened with me when I was with BIMTech. Also, what I would say is very important is make the best use of resources beyond BIMTech. I would suggest definitely get onto the LinkedIn if in case you're not there right now. Make the best use of it. Start building your network early. Start posting content over there. Try to engage with people who belong to your industry, or your area of interest. and that is a wonderful platform. I wish we had something like this in our time. The things would have been really different for us. So yes, this is something which I think are my learning of the last two. I mean, of the 2 years when I was in BIMTech. Perfect. And last but not the least, be aggressive. Try to learn as much as possible. See, because I can go on talking about it. I can go on telling what my experiences were. Okay, but then yes, the most important thing over here is how you perceive the entire concept of BIMTech and go and make the best use of it. All I can tell you is it's a fantastic place. It's an amazing platform, and it has been growing in terms of the kind of faculty and in time to kind of in kind of technology and then kind of associations and affiliations they have. So yes, it's an interesting place where you guys can make the best of yourself and make a lucrative career out of yourself. Perfect. At this point of time, I'm done more or less with what I had to say. Just wanted to check with you guys. Do you have any questions or anything which you want to ask to me? You can type it in the comments section. I can always reply that. Okay, so I have a question from Niti Malik. She says, "So, what were your favorite subjects? And in your opinion, one should opt for which specialization?" Okay, Niti, my favorite subject was marketing, and that is because I marketing always fascinated me, right, let it be right from the POPs or the merchandise you saw on the retail outlets to the ads which you saw on the TV. It always fascinated me how this world really worked. And yes, that was basically something which marketing helped me understand. And which subject you should take, or rather, which specialization you should take, that's a very subjective thing. What I would suggest you to do is, once you join the college, give yourself initial couple of months to understand what is happening around you. What does marketing mean to the world, and what does marketing mean to you? What does operation mean to you, and so on and so forth. And on the basis of that, develop an opinion. And then maybe take a plunge. It is also very important that beside besides the specialization you're looking at, you should also look at the industry you want to get into, because one big problem nowadays is marketing, for example, is very specialized. So the way a marketing would work for a B2B is very different from a B2C. Similarly, the way a marketing would work for an FSI industry would be very different from the way it works for an FMCG industry. So that is another part of the clarity which you need to get if in case you want to be more effective. Perfect. The next question I have is from Rakesh Avasti. So Rakesh Avasti says, "Hello, sir. How should one utilize college time to become ready for the corporate world?" Rakesh, in my live chat, I have shared that in detail. But to be very frank, the three or four things which you can do over there is, first, be thorough with the specialization you want to get into. So if in case you decide you want to be a marketing, just become a worm of marketing. Just get everything of marketing up your alley and make sure that you're well arsenal. Also, it is very important that you start to get an understanding of how the big picture really works. So what really happens is, you when you step into the corporate world, there's this word, the big picture, used very often. Okay, and that essentially is not thinking about the business only from a marketing perspective, or finance perspective, or operations perspective, but then holistically, what is the vision of the company, what is the goal of the company, what are the revenue targets the company has got, and maybe focusing or realigning yourself to the goals of the company, because it would not be every time that the wheel will turn in your direction. There would be times when you'll have to work against your wishes to certain things to make sure that the larger goal of the organization is achieved. But then at that point of time, if in case you have got a big picture of what organization really wants, it becomes much easier. And that is something which basically is a mindset which develops over time. You cannot just go over there and say, oh, I have the big picture. Okay. And the third and the most important thing, which I emphasized earlier as well, learn the art of networking. Okay. In corporate world, there are two very important things. One is knowledge about what you're doing. So you need to be a pro in whatever you're doing, or other, whatever your area of specialization is. And the second, you need to have advocates to help you move forward in the corporate world. And these advocates are essentially your mentors, your alumni, or your vetting group, or your sounding boards. Okay, so it is very important that you work very closely with them, and have a clear understanding of how you want to go forward. And this network would essentially help you shorten, or cut down a um, lot of practical exercise, or practical experiences, and help you move faster at a greater pace. The next question I have is from Chaya Tiwari. He says, "Sir, please share your experience of corporate sector. How different is it from college world?" Okay, Chaya, one very important difference between the corporate world and being in your academic world is there's usually no scope of error in the corporate world. I mean, you commit one error and you would be judged next time. Okay, but then there's a fair amount of cushion in your MBA days. You can actually take chances with things. You can learn, commit mistakes, unlearn, relearn. So that is a very important bit which you would not find in the corporate world, and that is something which really benefited me when I was there in BIMTECH, because there was a lot of course correction I had to do in terms of my attitude towards the world, in terms of the way I envisioned myself. And what happens is, when you step into the corporate world, you see a lot of people who are not essentially from BIMTech. You might be sharing a desk with a guy from IIM, or you might be sharing a desk with someone from XLRI. Okay, but at that point of time, you cannot you cannot consider yourself weak in any aspect. Okay, you have to give your best foot forward, and that is something which you can essentially develop during your time frame, or the time which you spend in your MBA college. It's all up to you. It's all up to you in terms of how well you groom yourself. How effectively are you able to use the support which is being provided to you by the college. Okay, and believe me, I'm talking about my experiences, and I'm talking about the experiences which I've had with, or the conversation which I have with the recent alumni, and the things have improved drastically. And that actually reminds me one very interesting thing. We have something called as a mentorship program in BIMTech now. And this is something essentially where the new students which join the college, they're essentially connected to the alumni, senior alumni in the industry. And what these alumni essentially do is groom these students to be ready for the corporate world. And in many ways, they become the advocate for these kids over there in the corporate world as well. This is something which really impressed me. At this point of time, I'm actually a mentor to a couple of kids, and it's been a very interesting experience. Perfect. Next question, Sanjay Rasdan. Sir, how can we successfully make corporate connection during our college time? So, Sanjay, I have answered a bit of this question, but then yes, I'll reiterate. When you are in college, or rather when you are in BIMTech, let's say, you will get a lot of opportunities to interact with your alumni, with the corporate world, and besides that, you would be also part of a lot of events and seminars where essentially you go and interact with the corporate world, right from inviting them to an event to working with them over the speaking engagement which they have in the particular seminar. So what really happens is when you are interacting with such people, they usually tend to you usually tend to build a relation. You usually tend to get an exposure with them. That is where the story ends if in case you're not interested, but then if in case you're smart enough, you can very easily use these platforms which are being provided by the college to extend your relationship beyond your 2 years in Vimtech, and take it forward to the corporate world as well. As I told earlier, we were a little unlucky because we did not have LinkedIn at that point of time. Had the facility of LinkedIn been there at our time, the things would have been very different. Perfect. The next question is from Shubhra Tiwari, and her question is, Sir, how has the corporate industry changed over the years? Shubhra, it's a very interesting question, and a very, what do I say? It's a very relevant question in for a person like me, because my career spans roughly 17 years now. And if in case I turn back and look at the way the things have evolved, it is amazing. It is unreal. There were times when people used to have a 600 crore or 700 crore balance sheet and we used to start sweating. And now we are talking about companies with valuations of billions of revenue, or, for that matter, Apple running into trillions. So yes, one thing which has definitely changed is volume because of the digital world. People are very well connected, and people are very efficiently using things like emails to Zooms to LinkedIn for that matter. Making the connections, getting into industries or working with people whom they didn't even know like a day back, and all of a sudden, both the parties understand that there is a value to the table, and these guys start working together. So yes, in my mind, a lot has changed. A lot of professionalism has come in. Nowadays, when I interact with the people we hire, their readiness or their understanding about the business is amazing. They have a lot of clarity in terms of what they want to do. Not to the extent of they not only knowing about marketing, but then they also knowing that okay, in marketing they want to do digital marketing, or they want to do CRM, or they want to be in the space of BI. That is something which brings up another point, and that's specialization. Essentially, the marketing at that point of time when we started was not so divided. Either had market research, or you had the real world marketing, or you could also divide the real world marketing into ATL or BTL. But then, if in case you talk about now, you have got digital, and then in digital you have got social media marketing. Then you've got your websites and stuff like that. So it's just expanding. It's just like the roots of a tree. The things are really growing, and there's a fair amount of specialization. It actually gives you guys a lot of opportunity as well, because you can identify your area of interest and your area of specialization, and you can start focusing on that. So yes, what really has changed is the volume. What really has changed is the complexity. What really has changed is the mindset of the people. So these would be the three things which I can talk about. Uh, the next question is from Pankaj Kapoor. So he says, Sir, can you share any anecdote that can be classified as one of your best learning experience at BIMTech? So I'll be frank with you, Pankaj. I really do not have any anecdotes, but then yes, I can talk about few of the experiences which I had. So the best experience which I had was, where I was working with the faculty, and I'm talking about my semester third. That was the second year of MBA, and I was basically leading a particular event which was supposed to happen. And we had to do a fair amount of running around in terms of inviting the corporates. We had to run around to coordinate with alumni, checking with alumni if in case they can bring in their corporate leaders. And it could be a good social gathering where there could be there could be a cross exchange of ideas and conversations between the students and the corporates. It was basically a 2 months interesting experience for me, right from identifying the people who should be a part of the event, to putting up teams together, to coordinating with various teams to make sure that we get the right set of people on board, coordinating with alumni, coaxing, cajoling them to get their seniors. Also, working very closely with the faculty in terms of understanding, what is the direction we want to take in terms of the event. Also, another important bit was taking care of my curriculum, because we're roughly talking about a month dedicated to the entire event, which is roughly around 16% of your time or academic time for that particular semester. And at the end of it, of course, when the event happened, a lot of troubleshooting being done from the entire experience was how to manage a particular situation, or how to manage the people, and give the best results. So this was something which I can tell was a very Dhar. Milidhar says, "Hi, sir. Can you please throw some light on your current role and responsibility at ProServ?" Okay, Millie, so the company which I work for is MyPeace, and ProServ is one of my major clients. Okay. So, MyPeace is basically a consulting company which specializes in strategy and operations related consulting. Also, over the last 6, 7 months, what I've started doing is I started consulting with a lot of startups. And the nature of work which I have been involved with startups is for anything right from their strategies to operational issues to learning and development to recruitments to now helping them with fundings. So it has been it's been an outfit which has been there for around a year and a half, and I it's been a very interesting experience. ProServ is one of my major clients, and I am their business partner over here in India. So I work very closely with them on a couple of softwares which they market, and one of them is Cascade. It's a strategy execution software, and there's another business continuity management software, which is Dubai, with a Dubai-based company. So yes, that is a bit about ProServe. Last question which I have is from Anu Goyal. So Anu Goyal says, "Hello, sir. I want to know, where were you first placed from BIMTECH, and how was the experience?" Okay, Anu, I guess I have answered this question earlier as well. But then what I'll do is, in interest of the forum, I'll repeat it again. My first job was with Satnam Overseas Limited, which has been acquired by McCormick Group right now. And I was I joined them as a brand executive, or rather, I would say I joined them as a management trainee with the inclination towards branding. And it was a very interesting experience for me because I got exposed to a lot of market research. I got exposed to a lot of real-time branding, how it really works, how merchandising works, how POP really works, how various companies establish their campaigns, how companies work on their pricing, and how the schemes really work, and how cutting of schemes really work. So that was something which I was exposed in a brief stint of around 9 months working with Satnam Overseas Limited. And yes, that is my experience about being with Satnam Overseas Limited. Perfect. Any other questions, ladies and gentlemen? Perfect. My WhatsApp stream looks clean. I do not see any questions in the comment section either. It was a pleasure interacting with you guys. I hope so. Just a minute. I hope so. It was an interesting experience. Oh, okay, I have another question. Sorry. So this question comes from Mohit. He says, "Thank you, sir, for sharing your inspiring journey. Any advice that you want to give to us to utilize the best of these 2 years at BIMTech?" So Mohit, again, I had answered this question earlier, but then in interest of the question which you have, I would be repeating it. So the best way to conduct yourself over there in BIMTech is you need to understand, what area you want to specialize in, let it be marketing, finance, operations, so on and so forth. And then what you need to do is at the same time start working very closely, in terms of developing your network of alumni and the corporate world. Okay. Parallelly, what you should also start doing is, you should actually start focusing on developing your network on LinkedIn. Okay. And what you got to make sure is that your network essentially is a reflection of the specialization which you want to take. Okay. And at the same time, focus extensively in the area of specialization which you have picked up, because if in case you are well versed with what your subject essentially entails, or what specialization essentially entails, you become a natural choice for the recruiters. Okay. They would love to have someone on board who understands the things, but at the same time is willing enough to work hard. And my personal experience has been, we really, in the corporate world, we are not looking for leaders in the beginning. Leaders is something which are developed over time. We are essentially looking at people who understand what is expected out of them, people who understand the big picture, as I said earlier as well, and making sure that you guys are able to deliver your level best when you are there on the job. So yes, in my mind, finding a specialization, building a network, and having an understanding of big picture. These would be the three very important skills which I would essentially like to focus on. Of course, another very important thing is being very active, being visible, because that always pays off. It's essentially, I'll put it this way. It's essentially a place where you have to shed all your fears and apprehensions, so that you are a more confident individual and possibly a professional, so that you can go into the corporate world and give your level best. Perfect. Any last questions now, or are we good? I'll just wait for a minute or so and then we can close the session. Perfect. I do not see any more questions on my WhatsApp feed. I do not see any questions on the comment section. Guys, it was great interacting with all of you. Best of luck. I hope so. All of you make to BIMTech. Uh, Great choice, great learning experience as far as I'm concerned. And if given an opportunity, and if in case there's any learning opportunity for me again, I would love to go back to BIMTech and relive my days of 2002, 2004. You guys take care, and it was very nice catching up with you all. Thanks a lot.